Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Henri and Mike. Today, it is the 30th September 2022. It is a Friday. At the moment, I'm in Berlin, and it is 12:09 noontime, and the sunshine outside is actually lovely. It's a bit cold, but I mean, the sun's out is fine, you know, it's the autumn weather. And I'm in this place called Michelberger Hotel. It's one of these places I really adore in Berlin. Many, many years ago, a friend of mine called Ira, she brought me here, and then you can always kind of hang out in this lounge area, and there's a piano right there where people can come out and play. So a lot of artists actually come to here. It's in Warschau Straße on the eastern part of Berlin. So people can't hang out over here. Exactly. Right. So where are you now, Michael?
I am actually back at Singapore Botanic Gardens. I was just around the area to have lunch with friends to catch up. So just swing by this area to enjoy some of the nature and enjoy the Friday evening here in Singapore. It's currently 6:10 p.m. There's a lot of families and people around having picnic. Children running around, skipping, playing catching. So this is our first La Copie episode for Henri and Mike. Cross cities, one in Singapore, the other one in Berlin. So, how's your week?
I mean, like the first day was just jet lag. I mean, I was really tired, so I kind of put it through and then work it through to the end. So I can adjust the timeline here. But yesterday and today, I went back to CrossFit. So that was really nice to see some of the people I used to train with, and then people are still there. And then it's quite nice to push yourself further, especially out those wee hours. Today, this morning, I was doing by myself. There was bloody cold though. We're doing like 3.2 kilometers. I was the only one who signed up for the ward. So I was running outside in the industrial area. It was chilling. And then we did like a toaster bar and also skipping. So altogether, the time cap was at 30 minutes, and I did finish it at 29:44. So that was the first record for this morning. I got to see what the rest of them, I mean, in terms of timing wise tonight when they're all done. But it's good to have that consistency and finally back to the workout again, so I can keep practicing before I return back to Singapore. What have you been up to?
Right. Last couple of days still running errands, taking care of mom. So she has been doing pretty fine, covering. So that was great. Went for a little bit of a walk with her, enjoy some meals together, cooked with her. So I think that occupies a lot of my time the last couple of days. So today she's better. So I'm actually out to meet my friends today to catch up. And here I am talking to you, really trying to enjoy the last bit of the week with whatever time that I have. Yeah.
Do you have a word for this week already? I mean, like, even though I only saw you 3 days ago, but...
I do have, in a sense, like, because I'm currently starting to read this book by Susan Cain. So Susan Cain is one of the top self-help author. She published this book called Quiet, about introvert back in 2012. I think that was one of the New York Times bestseller. I think sometime in May this year, she published another book called Bittersweet. So this book is trying to highlight negative emotions and how we should acknowledge and embrace that. I was introduced to this book by a friend of mine while I was chatting with her about the recent episodes and experience that I have. And then she just mentioned to me that, hey, why not check out this book by Susan Cain? She just started reading as well. So I'm going to have a brief look about the book and had a few podcasts that were talking about it. And I felt like I could resonate with some of the key things that were mentioned involved, because over the entire of season 1 of Henri and Mike, we talk about emotions, feelings, especially in the inward, the episode. There was this part where, remember, you were talking about us as human beings. We are not very certain of how to describe our emotions because we are not trained. So I think one aspect of this book about Bittersweet is that there's always a yin and a yang. When there's light, there will be a shadow. So the same thing when it comes to emotion, there will always be an opposite of each other. So when she mentioned this, one thing that came to my mind was how, you know, back in 1997 when we were young, we were watching Titanic, the movie. So there was this scene inside where there was a classical band they were playing at a deck when the Titanic was about to sink, remember?
Right.
Yeah, so the classical music played by them were melodious and they were very soothing. But yet at the same time, people around who were listening to this music, they were experiencing negative emotions because they're all about to die. So that was the first thing that came to my mind when Susan Cain mentioned about this concept about bittersweet, where you experience emotions and feelings of opposite of each other. And I thought that it's common sense, you know? But a lot of times when we are going through life, we always embrace the positive side of things, but not so much about the negative side of things. I think it has to do with the cultural aspect of the society we live in. We always embrace and celebrate success in terms of the positive stuff. Today, let's say I strike a lottery, oh, that's great. Or maybe at work, I have some promotion, for instance, in my career. So those are the things that generate happiness, positive vibe, and then people celebrate it. But of course, a lot of the times, there are negative emotions that we go through as well. But more often than not, we don't exactly embrace that, you see. I feel like so far, what I have gone through, the first chapter of what Susan Cain was talking about this, trying to introduce this concept about bittersweet, I just thought that that's quite relevant with what I'm going through now. It's important to know that it exists and you need to acknowledge it. That will help you to use it as a base to start to explore other things. So hopefully maybe by sometime in the middle of next week, I will be able to finish this book and I could get a better conclusion to what this book is going to try to tell me and my takeaway from it. I'm definitely looking forward to content that is being presented in this book.
Not only embrace the positive feeling, but towards the negative reaction as well, is what you're saying.
For sure. I feel like it's an extension of what we have been talking about before. In my phase right now, especially, given what we are going through with our loved one, because, you're trying to face death. And how then do you overcome this emotion or maybe invite this emotion and coexist together and thereafter try to find a way out? One thing that Susan Cain was trying to advocate was through journaling in any form, to record down what you're experiencing in terms of the negative and the positive part, especially the negative aspect of things. Yes, different people have different ways of so-called journaling. It can be written, taking photos or taking videos, or what we are doing right now, trying to keep each other updated about our life. So that content creation aspect of things in trying to be accountable and recognize and acknowledge this positive and especially the negative aspect of things. So she was trying to advocate for this so that it gets clearer as you go down the journey to know how you experience the negative part of things in life. And every time when you look back, you will grow from that perspective. So this is one thing that it also resonated with me as well, because this is exactly what we are doing. I don't have a habit of writing a diary, but I do have a habit of noting down key things that happens in my life. So I thought that, hey, actually, maybe I really need to get more involved in this, like find my own way of trying to connect through this so-called journaling in any form that I would like to do so that I can understand myself better and also use that to share experiences of how then do I cope with some of this negative stuff that's going on.
Journaling, I've been doing that since many, many years. And ever since I was young, I have so many different collections of books in Singapore, also in Germany here. The last time when I moved places, like pack up my apartment in Berlin, all together, I think got 22 volumes of them. And I still write every single day, which is pretty good. I mean, there are some days where I just don't do it, but I still kind of write it in the app. I do think that it is good to write down your negative feelings because you kind of pour your heart out in that sense. It's a very therapeutic kind of feeling. And it helps to clear your mind, especially before you go to bed, so you can sleep better. But usually I write it in the morning, right after CrossFit. So I have more clear hair, like clarity over there.
For me, the coping mechanism when it comes to this is definitely not through writing. Like I said, I do note down some of the key moments. But other than that, there's a lot of thoughts that go run through every day. I will then consolidate some of these thoughts after talking to people around. Then I'll note it down, especially with things that are impactful in my life, So I think there was this episode that we talked about at Duxton Plain Park. We talk about people celebrate big milestones, but also small milestones that are neglected. So I think ever since that episode, I make a more conscious effort in trying to note down small little things that happen. As I talk to people, I consolidate, exchange ideas, then I'll note them down. So I think with what Susan Cain talked about in Bittersweet in terms of journaling, I see myself that I am growing more towards that as well, maybe through some form of writing, though not daily, but there is a conscious effort in trying to acknowledge positive and especially negative aspect of things. Other than writing, is there any other type of so-called journaling method that you're doing in order to cope with some of these adverse changes in your life?
There are a lot. When I was in high school, I remember one of the music teachers, he used music, like the notes, to store his memory. So certain music that was being played, he'll evoke some of the memory from him. So in some case or the other, that's a form of journal for him. This is a memory with flashback, kind of. So obviously like documenting in front of the camera or recording a podcast or even writing down. There are various ways of doing it. But I think it's just writing it down using paper and pen is the most effective way because it make you conscious to think, to put your thoughts into words so you can have more clarity when you're writing them into structure. As I said before, when you turn it back and flick through, you understand why you were so worked out with certain issues back then. And then it is no longer that issue of, at the current moment. I'll wait you to finish that book and tell us more about what's happening down there and whether you have learned something out of that. Okay, let's move on.
How about your side this week? We all know that you flew back to Berlin. Is there anything that's on your mind?
It reminded me of my life here before, 8 months ago. I felt obviously rejuvenated, I think I do need that distance to be away from the whole thing for a while. And then to restore the energy before I go back again. Yeah, because I think Singapore at the moment just too intensive, like emotionally what's going through there. Having said that, that's also part of life, right? Especially when you're facing death, that's the thing that you just have to walk through and then see whether you can find a way or the other to digest that, I suppose. But seeing some of my friends here kind of gave me certain strength, and then to see them again and doing the whole Uncle Henri duty. But obviously, you get a deeper understanding of exactly what you want and what you don't. Yeah, so I'm very clear with myself that I know Singapore is not a place for me, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think at the moment it's good. And also we are bringing this kind of content and then also re-engaging with the whole German culture and some of the friends here. It kind of brought me back to the mentality, usually like take some time to get to know them. But once they kind of open up, it is there, even though I have not seen most of them for 8 months, but it's quite nice to re-engage with the whole situation again. Last 2 days, what really occurred to me just that certain things, good things takes time. You just got to be patient about it. And that's one of the virtue that I've always been working on.
So if you have to sum up this forward-looking, reflecting the last 8 months, now back in Berlin, rejuvenation, is there a word you can describe this entire journey so far?
Rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation. Okay.
It just occurred like that. I think at some point, sometimes it needs to take away yourself from the environments, to restore yourself, go back again. So you have more to give, you see. Like for instance, this place, Michel Berger Hotel, is really lovely. I'm not sure whether you can hear the music right now. There's a pianist playing.
Yeah, there is. I can hear it at the background.
Yeah, so someone just walked out there and she's playing at the moment. So I remember like years ago, more than 10 years ago, Ira brought me here because I wanted to find a place to work, right? And then she brought me here, and it was in the middle of the night, and it was still open, and it was snowing outside, and the two of us just kind of squeezing. And this has been one of my favorite here, because it's very near to the Warschauer Straße. On the other side, you can always go for food, drinks. On the other side, you can go to the river. It's quite vibrant. A lot of things happening over here. Yeah. And just like we enter a place like that, just brought back lots and lots of memory. People that you share moments with who are here or who were here. Yeah, and the people will be coming through again. So to some extent, it also symbolizes life. Like there's a continuation over there. Even though at some point a certain part of it will pass, but the other part of it will still continue, right? So I think those are the things that we have to take in our heart.
I see. So you are going to be back in Europe for, I suppose, a month?
I'm going to stay here for a month. Yeah. Okay. It was just being decided this morning because the return ticket from Zurich to Singapore is not happening. So I'm going to fly from Barcelona back to Singapore. And that'll be at the end of the month. So like exactly 1 month to do my stuff and get certain things done, and then to get more materials for digital creation.
I'm curious as well, maybe in the next couple of episodes when you are back from Europe, as we catch up, maybe you can also share with us after you have spent another month rejuvenating in Europe and then back to Singapore to face some of these more difficult things in life. How will that be? And, I'm definitely interested to know that progress, that journey.
Of course, at the moment, it's easy to say because I'm further away from the whole situation, right? But then I think when I get back and see mom again, obviously, that's not going to be easy. But as we just talk about it all this while, there's a certain part of it is about continuation. So for most of us, we also have to come to that point in time. How do you deal with it? What's the path you want to take on after that? You see, there's no right or wrong answer for it. Just how do you face it? Like, what's the method you're going to use? Dearest Michael in Singapore has frozen and then dropped out of the whole recording. In this case, I'll come to the conclusion of this episode. For Mike's side, I think it's about the embracing part, embracing of the negativity feeling. And for my side, it'll be rejuvenating. So embracing and rejuvenating. Thank you very much for listening, tuning in, and watching us from YouTube. I hope that you have a wonderful day. And in the next few episodes, we'll bring you more of the contents from different parts of Europe. Like, for instance, in different part of Berlin, different part of Zurich, and also in Barcelona. I'll keep you updated what's happening with us. And with that, we wish you a very happy weekend. Stay tuned, be kind to yourself, take care of each other, and don't forget to smile. We shall see you in the very next week. Don't forget to subscribe. This is Henri, and obviously Mike is in Singapore. So we shall see you next time. Ciao, ciao.